the importance of throwing things away. And we laugh about the hoarder situation, but that's a real thing. Why are people hanging on to these things, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally?
I'm in the middle now of just reorganizing all sorts of things because it feels good energetically. With that clearing, it clears up so much more.
Are you struggling with low energy, weight gain, hormonal imbalances, or heavy metal and mold toxicity? Do you want to learn more about anti-aging tips and creating more longevity in your life? Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and home health consultant. In this podcast, Homes That Heal, I will teach you how to transform your home into a health and wellness sanctuary. Your health is your wealth, and I believe that your home should be your sanctuary space, loaded with the tools you need to thrive in your life, not just survive. If you want to feel fantastic and transform your life and home, grab a pen, let's dive in and create a home that heals. All right, welcome, Chernice. How are you doing this morning? This is going to be the most fun I've had on a Friday morning in a long time. I'm so happy to talk to you. How are you?
Oh, same. I am wonderful. And I'm so excited to see your smiling face. This is a perfect way to start the day.
I know, before we hit the record button, I was telling you how I sound a little bit like Darth Vader because I was up super late. And you're like, I went to bed early on time. Like I was all ready to go. I was like, oh my gosh, these early morning podcasts. But Friday mornings, I don't typically record on Fridays because you and I normally do a coffee chat on a Friday morning. But this time I was like, let's actually dig into some things. So let's get after it. First of all,
We did that at the same time. Did you see?
I know,
We both
like,
rubbed our hands together.
let's go. Okay, first of all, full disclosure, I want to introduce you with your full name, and I can't pronounce your last name. Just I told you that. So please share with the audience your name, and let's talk about real estate, where you're at, like how you got into this business, and just all the things.
Well, I am excited. So my name is Chernice Dieudonne, and you did a pretty good job, sounding it out. But of course, you can imagine I've heard that all my life where people are like, oh, what is it again?
I can imagine.
Yeah, so it's no problem. But you know what though? I'd love to actually share this with you about what my name means since we're on the subject. So capital Dieu in French means God.
What?
Yes,
Mic
and
drop.
I know, right?
That's all we need to talk about this morning. That's it. That's it. Are you kidding? My
No, I am not
gosh.
kidding. I'm not kidding.
Oh, my
So, and
sweet friend. Now I know how we're aligned.
oh my God, yes, yes, absolutely. It means God, and donner means to give. So, Dieu donné is God's gift. It is a God given.
Oh,
It is translated in that way.
I have chills, chills everywhere.
I just wanted to start the conversation off right, you know?
Oh my gosh. You are one of the brightest lights that I know, to be honest. Like, just to prop you up for a second, I tell you this all the time, and I know we voice text each other all the time. But I love you so much, and your energy is just wildly infectious. And you walk into a room and it just lights up and beams. And so the fact that this is your name is like the biggest icing and cherry on the top. I honestly, like, I just genuinely think that is so beautiful, but it literally emulates who you are. Like, you are one of the most gorgeous, bright energies that I've ever met. And I'm so grateful that for our friendship. When I remember when we first met, I was like, I want to be friends with her. Oh my gosh. We met at the Kathy group. I was like, but you just radiate literally God's gift to people. So, what a beautiful blessing for you to be able to, I don't want to say have, but you to be gifted that name. It's so gorgeous. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. Thank you. I love you so much. You are an amazing friend. And I am so glad that we met because I feel the same way about you. You are a
Oh,
shining light in my life.
oh my gosh. I love you. We are your voice messages, our voice messages back and forth. When I get one from you, I'm like, gotta sit down. In fact, Mark, my husband, I don't know, maybe it was like the week of your birthday a few weeks ago, we were messaging back a little bit. and you had sent me a message. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but it was like, we were doing this. We are like, I love you. Like, I hope you have, oh, you were going to LA and I wasn't going this time. And so we were chatting about that. And you just left me this beautiful message about like how much you're going to miss me and you just love our friendship and all this stuff. And Mark and I had just sat down to dinner and I had it on speakerphone and he was like looking at me and he's like, what are these friends you have? He's like, nobody's ever left me a message like that. And he was just, he was so like, I don't want to say jealous, but he was just like, why do you get to, you have the best friends. I'm like, I know. Isn't life fun? I'm like, isn't it so fun? So he got to listen to her a little bit of our message exchange and your message back. And so he was like, I'm like, isn't it's so fun to listen to your messages. Anyways, I could soapbox about this
Oh.
all day long. But this is exactly why I wanted to invite you onto the show because I wanted to bring your beautiful, bright energy into my community. We're going to talk a little bit about what you do because it relates to the show, Homes That Heal, how to create a home that's vibrant and the space and the energetics. And whenever you and I've gotten together, we've talked about what sets you apart from other agents or some of the things that you're doing to really elevate your client experiences. And so that's why I just thought it was a fun conversation to have about like, we're not just buying a home, we're not just buying things, right? We're investing in a space that's going to elevate our lives. So tell me a little bit about why you got into real estate, a little bit of background maybe, or how you kind of ebbed and flowed into the real estate world.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So, when I first knew that I needed to be in real estate, it was after realizing how much I loved it. And so I went through my own process of purchasing my home, and it was the single most empowering thing I had done up until that point. And I sat at home and I looked around and just really gave myself time to appreciate what I had done.
Mm.
And then I realized, wait a minute, I love this. I watch HGTV. Like I geek out on that. And now I truly have experienced what it's like to be a homeowner. And this is a feeling that I want to help facilitate for other people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I thought, obviously, this is a career path for me. This is a business because it's already so deeply ingrained into my life. And so then that's when I made the decision. And I had no idea how it was gonna work because I was working a 9 to 5 and like if I looked at things and what was happening in life, I'm like, there's no time for that. Never gonna happen. But it happened. God made a way. And so I didn't have to worry about the how.
Hmm. You were working in a law firm, weren't you, if I remember right?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
working in a law firm. It's
So
like,
corporate.
yes, very, very different. And it was
Yeah.
one of those things where I just, I didn't hate my job. I'm like, it's a job. Yeah, you know, it's pretty cushy. And I had climbed the corporate ladder, so to speak. So I'm in management at this point. I supervise 4 teams. I'm like, I'm going.
Mm,
But I realized that I didn't want to go any further in that, because I was being pulled, I was being called to something of my own. And I
mm.
really had an opportunity to honor that in starting my business.
I love that. I mean, well, first of all, I think that resonates with a lot of people is like you were listening. You know, when you say you were being pulled, I too came from corporate and I loved my job. I really did for a lot of reasons. It gave me a lot of insight on how to run a business. You kind of get a sneak peek when you get the opportunity to work inside of an organization, you get to see how things are run. And for me, it was also learning not just what to do, but also what not to do. Just candidly speaking, it's like I pulled the different nuggets from how I could see supervisors and how their peer like how people were working together, like what was working and what wasn't working, so that when I moved into entrepreneurship in my own business, I was like, I remember how people, the supervisors that really treated their employees fair and with dignity and respect, and like they actually cared about who they were. and actually talk to them about their families or maybe talk to them about other things other than the job. Those were the partnerships, those were the relationships that actually flourished. Those were the people that showed up every day with respect and on time because they respected their supervisor or their management. And so I had a front row seat to witness different departments. And then being in a leadership role too, you get to talk to people and you get to know them and understand what really feels good in people's reactions. And so that was the stuff that I kind of took with me. So I have no, I was with Coke for 14 years and I loved it. I love the people I worked with, but similar to you, it's like there was a knowing here that I was like, okay, there's a fork in the road here. So load up your backpack with all the things you've learned and use that, like elevate into something else. I think that's important because people are like, oh, I left that job. It's like, I don't have any animosity towards my earlier career. I loved it. And I'm just grateful for the experience. So you step into real estate and you're like out in the big wide world of starting your own business. How do you kind of move and shake with getting your legs on the ground?
So to start, I just moved. There is something so interesting in any industry, but of course we're talking about real estate, so I'll use this, that there are so many people out there in real estate who are like, all right, we're going to build these funnels and this is what you need to do. And and there's all these things, but I'm like, I don't like it. Like,
I know my face just went like, oh,
yeah, I'm like, I don't want any of that. That sounds like a lot of efforting. And what I wanted to do was spread love,
yeah,
share my excitement with people, spread joy. That's what I did. And so when I was getting my license, I was so excited. I was so excited. And there was this buildup, right? Because I'm going and taking the classes and I'm starting to talk to people about it. I'm telling people like this is what's happening. So I had people primed and ready when I got my license. Like I'm like, okay, this is when my test is. Okay, so let's just wait. I was blasting it to family, friends, social media. I was just sharing my excitement because this is something I'm truly lit up about.
yeah.
So I've had agents, we have horror stories, right? Like some people have told me, they're like, oh my gosh, Chernice, I spent 8 months and didn't get a single sale like when I first started, or whatever the case may be. But I just jumped right in. So in my first 2 months, I closed 3 deals. And I'm like, all right, I'm in business.
Right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the excitement and the joy. And then I'm also an educator. So it's having these conversations, doing consultations with people, and really just explaining how the process works. Like right
Yeah.
now, I host courses. Like I take people through the home buying process. Selling is coming up too as far as coursework goes, because I think that could be valuable to sellers to prepare their homes. So there are just so many things, and I ask people if they want to come along. I'm like, it's an invitation to the party. You are welcome, because this is what's happening over here.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I just flashed back to when we were sitting. Do you remember when we were sitting in LA in that hotel lobby for hours on
I
end?
will never forget.
Yeah, we were brainstorming this. Was that like 2 years ago now? I don't even know. Was that 1 or 2 years? I have no idea. Time seems to be just evaporating and it's like not even there anymore. But anyways, we were talking about this and I remember how excited you were. Like, I want to take people on an experience. And so we were jamming out on different ways that you could bring this to your business because real estate is, I mean, forgive me, I have a ton of realtor friends, but it's like it can feel like you're kind of boxed in, right? It's like this process, this fast pace, everything's time sensitive, da, 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 da. It's like people don't even have time to think. It's like the offers are coming in. We've been in the real estate world. We run a real estate company, actually. We flipped homes. We've been doing that 15 years. Now we do more private lending and kind of like syndicate deals because I'm like, I am not interested in painting and all the things. But it's like, it's an experience. And so for when you're like, come on to the party, it's not just transactional. And so that's what we were really jamming out about. How can you create this experience for people so that it feels good and that it feels aligned with who they are, the pace they want to go. And then ultimately at the end, obviously they either sell their home or they're purchasing a home, but like really inviting them into your sphere and your experience. So I love that you've implemented all this stuff. We haven't even really had a chance to talk about all of this until today. So, what have you learned?
Oh, I have learned that real estate is really emotional.
Yes. There,
And
that's it.
that's what I've learned. It is really emotional. And there is a statistic out there floating around that real estate is in the top 3 of the most stressful things someone can go through in life. A real estate transaction is one of them,
Are you serious?
next to like death of a loved one. Like,
No way. Oh, I would definitely think it'd be like in the top 10, maybe, but top 3? Okay, that
yes,
does make sense though. Okay. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting. Carry
yes.
on.
And when you think about it, right, it's like, okay, so of course you have the good stories, right? The empowerment of, oh, I'm buying my first home or I'm selling my first home and I get all of this profit out of it, right? You have the love stories where it's like, oh, couples are getting together, they just got hitched and now they're they're buying a house together. All of the things. Or people are having babies, so now they're selling the house and they're upgrading, all the beautiful things. But then what people don't talk about so much are the other reasons people sell.
Mm,
And those are the really heavy emotional reasons, like divorce or death of a loved one,
mm.
or like finances. If they can no longer afford, they have to downsize. Like there are a lot of things that get really sticky. And what I've learned is that the best way I can support people through that is to hold space for them, because the same way I hold space for my coaching clients, I can hold space for people who are buying or selling a home. And I've realized that this all works together, because I can very well sit down, we're going to go through the contracts. I have that legal operations background, so I'm like, but this is a winning combination for you guys. We go through the contracts and I can help facilitate that process. And at the same time, we're also navigating something that is really emotional and really stressful. So you have someone who is grounded and centered and cannot be shaken or moved. And praise God, because that is God, that is not me. I just allow myself to be a vessel to be able to help people through that process. And so that is what I've learned, is that it is so needed, that I now have stepped into helping people through like their personal and business lives because of that.
Holy cats. As far as what you just said about the emotional experience, you're 100% right. It's sometimes it's very exciting and other times it's devastating. And so whatever side of that piece you're on or whatever side of the coin you're on, having that grounded pillar, to your point, like the grounded vessel that can really keep not the transaction, but keep the process in a very grounded space and energy. That's all the difference, because otherwise it's just chaos and erratic. And we've all been on sides of that before as far as transactions. That's actually one of the many reasons why we did step out of flipping properties, actually, is because after COVID 2020, we sold our last couple properties around 21, I think, 120, somewhere in that realm during COVID, because I was like, I don't have the bandwidth for this anymore. I don't have the offers, like contractor prices, margins, everything was moving so fast. Everybody was just heightened emotion. Everything just felt like a 10 on the scale of stress. Like I just couldn't do it. And for my health and well-being, like I have to pull the pin at some point, because when I feel my body or myself getting to a level of like, this is a problem, this is like danger, danger, like check engine light. I mean, I had a stroke. So it's like when you start to feel yourself getting to a level of knowing like your anxiety and you just can't hold it. Like you said, you can't hold the space anymore. And my legs were like, no, I can't do this. We let it go because it's just not for us. But that process of working with someone who can really be the pillar in between to handle all the noise, It is now shocking to me that you're also in coaching, which I wanna talk about. But, like, your grounded energy, like, that's where it's at. That's the magic, and that's why you're so good at what you do, but that's really, really important for people to find someone that really aligns with that situation that they have going on. Like, how can that person show up for them? So thank you for bringing that up. I've never ever even considered or thought about it that way, but that's a, I think, really important piece of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm happy to share because these are the things that people don't often talk about.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say because it's too personal, it's too close. It's like people keep it very transactional, and like I said, the real estate world is moving a million miles an hour all the time on a lot of things, and it's kind of a volatile situation. Like I have friends that they're so afraid, like they want to buy a house, they're renting, but they don't even want to step into the space because they feel so intimidated, and it's almost like this wheel that gonna it's gonna go tumbling down the hill and they just don't want to get on the wagon, so to speak, right? There's like there's not enough inventory, or it seems like it's going to be tumultuous because there's too many people throwing offers in. They don't have the capability to be flexible with their funds, so they're just not going to do it. They're just stepping out and waiting and waiting. And it's like, I don't know that it's ever going to be an easy time. I mean, I don't know that it's ever easy. I think the key is finding somebody like you know, finding the right person to walk them through the process. So, yeah, I think that's a very good takeaway from this whole conversation, actually, for anybody who's looking at buying or selling. Like the person that you're entrusting into this process, I think is equally important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I always welcome the conversation even if someone's not sure, they can't envision it. Just like I couldn't envision how I would create my first business. I just knew that it would happen. Right. And so then once we make that decision, it's really interesting how things start to align and there are ways in which our resources come to us.
Mhm.
They say that the teacher arrives when the student is ready. And so that could very well be someone who is listening to your episode right now and is
Yeah.
hearing this and is like, wow, I'm that person that Jen just
Mhm.
described. I'm terrified, right? Then yeah, I would encourage anyone in that position to just have a conversation. And it is
Yeah.
not and I'm a very no pressure person. I know you know that, so I'll just go ahead and I'll say that.
I know
I don't
that,
convince
but
Yes, yes. I'm like, I don't convince anyone of anything, but I will be happy to provide the knowledge to get you on my invitation list so that you can come to my seminars and see for yourself. And it's not like,
yeah.
all right, now like we're
Right.
running your credit and we're getting started. It's nothing crazy like that. You can literally come and acquire the knowledge. I do have people who are like, I want to just take this slow and I'd rather start with you and join your classes before I actually start the transaction so that I'm not learning and looking and going crazy, you know?
Mhm.
So there are certainly ways if anyone is just curious about it, wants to have the conversation, I can't help but educate. So that's always going to be me. And I love it. I
I
love it.
know, I know. So, speaking of that, that actually just reminded me, I want the whole purpose you started a podcast, right? Like, did was that
Yes.
born from our LA hotel conversation also, by the way?
It was either about to start or had just started. So I can't remember which one. But I sat on it for so long. I had my trailer, I had everything. I remember I sent you my
I
trailer.
know, I was gonna say, I think you were in the program already. I think we were talking you were in the program, and I think we were talking about it, and I was like, "Well, why haven't you done this yet? Like, are you kidding me? We coulda hit record for 15 hours that whole time, and we coulda had 3 months worth of shows between just you and I talking about it." But I was like, "You have so much information, and not even just, like, the love and the energy that people wanna soak in from you, but you have so much influence and information to talk on this topic." I'm like, you have to get this out there. I don't even care if it's on your phone, put it up on YouTube, just start. And then it was a couple weeks later, you're like, Jen, I've got my trailer. I'm gonna send it to you. Tell me what you think. And then I'm just like, yes, just hit the record, like hit post, get that out there.
So I am really excited about it because basically what I have done is created a platform for me to merge my passions together. So you will hear about real estate, you will hear about nourishing the mind, body, and soul, and that whole empowerment coaching. And you'll also hear a little bit about travel because I love
Mm.
traveling. So I've just put them all together, and it is faith based, spirit led. I just want to talk about the things that I know I am here to create and put out in the world. So that is my way of doing it. So every time I record, I feel like it's a love letter to my listener.
Love
And
that. How fun.
I am like, I am such a balance of like completely cheesy at times. I love to tell corny jokes. I laugh like at my own jokes all the time. And it's just really fun. And then I'm also sentimental. Like if I could hug everyone in the world, it's like one of those sorts of things. Like I just want to love on everyone. And then there's also that side of me that's like that knows when we have to get really, really serious. And
Mhm.
usually that comes down to like contracts, negotiations, that type of thing. There is a place for that as well. And my clients, actually, one of my favorite clients who I'm helping sell her house, she was like, Chernice, I just knew that I would be going with you because you are so sweet. And at the same time, you're really intense. I know that I am protected when I'm working with you.
Well, I could see it. I could see you just like moving and shaking like, I could see it.
Yes, so I blend that all together, and I feel like it is a love letter to anyone who's listening. It is for posterity, and it's something that I get to leave behind. This was really the thing that propelled me forward, like having conversations with people such as yourself, because you are such an inspiration. And I will never forget that conversation we had in LA because it was so good and so needed because I
Yeah.
kept getting those signs. I just kept getting them and I kept feeling the nudge. And then I thought about the younger generation or even older generations in my generation, all of them. When I am gone, this podcast will still remain. And so, for anyone who may have missed it during this time or anyone who's not even alive yet to experience it, I'm able to leave this mark on their lives in hopes that it will spark something. It will change something for them. It will reinvigorate them. It will remind them that they have the same access to God that I have and encourage them to pursue it. And so, how could I not?
I know.
That's how it's going.
I know. So that was the overarching message when we were sitting together, and we've been to a couple events now, but that LA experience was so fun and so nourishing. I remember leaving that thinking, she's going to start a podcast. She's going to clean out that drawer of mail from 9 years. You remember that?
Yes.
I don't know if you
Yes.
want me to bring that up, but that to me, I'm not even joking you. And I've been meaning to tell you this particular story, and we'll talk about it here in a second, is probably going to find its way into my book that I'm writing. Actually, I'm not even joking because so writing the Homestead Heal book, spoiler alert for anybody who doesn't know, all I know, isn't that fun? In my spare
Yes.
time,
Amazing.
yeah,
Yes.
it's so fun because again, like a book, a podcast, these are the things that are everlasting, right? Like we're reading books from people who've passed from years ago. So the book is something that's really centered around how to help people create this harmonious space. And you and I were talking about it. We were talking about your home and the energetics. And I think we were talking about like personal life too, like just some different things and what inspires people. And you told me that you had collected mail, or I don't know, you can share, but I remember thinking to myself, like my eyebrows were probably in my hairline. I was like, what? You were collecting mail for like, was it like 8 or 9 years?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I am just rephrasing because I'm very conscious of the words I speak because they're powerful. And so I used to, past tense, I used to not these too much of a fan of snail mail. And so I get this mail. Sometimes I look at it, sometimes I wouldn't. But what I've forgotten that was that when I moved, I put a bunch of mail in this drawer, like one of those like end tables that you would put in your living room. I put this mail in this drawer because I just never used the drawer. So I'm like, perfect. I can put it here and forget about it. I'm like, great. But I wouldn't throw it away just in case one day it ends up
I
being
was
like
like,
something of value.
why would you put it in the garbage if you don't want? But anyways,
But
carry
yeah,
on.
but that was my story. I'm like, no, I don't have time to go through it. But if I ever do, if it's ever like, oh, I've sent you something in the mail that's really important, then it's probably in there. So I'll just keep it just in case, right? I didn't even think like 2 seconds about it. I just threw it in there. But what I had realized in talking to you was that it was still there. I was like, huh. I was like, actually, I haven't opened this drawer since I moved. I don't think about it. And I said, but what if I did? What if I did go and just open the drawer, see what's in there and go through it? Because I'm such an organized person. I love to have my space clean and clear. But that was the exception because I wasn't looking at it. Right. Same like,
Right.
throwing something in a closet. It's like, no, well, it's behind that door. So I'm gonna have to see it. So it's not messing with my space. But
Oh,
it is.
it is.
And so as I am navigating this real estate process, that could be a whole episode by itself, like all of the horrors of like real estate stories I could tell. I
Yeah.
would go through and see certain properties and things, and I get a feeling, right? But the feeling, it's not as relevant as the feeling that my clients have. So I always lean into that and encourage them to really just see how they feel when they walk through the door of a property that they're thinking about buying. Same thing
Yeah.
with my sellers, like creating the type of property that someone will walk into and feel good.
Mhm.
So it goes both ways. So I'm like, it's not a coincidence that this is my business, and then it reminds me of my home, and that these have to always be in harmony. They get to be, right? So I'm fortunate that I had that realization, because then I went and opened that drawer and I went through it, and I'm in the middle now of just reorganizing all sorts of things because it feels good energetically. And I
Yes.
know that with that clearing, it clears up so much more. And so
Yes.
who doesn't want a nice, clean, clear space? I mean, it feels so much better. And sometimes we just get so busy with life that we forget these things, but they're vitally important.
Right. So this is actually, again, it's so hard for me to articulate into words like the story. So thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I apologize if I caught you off guard, but I wanted to talk about that because I really think that that's a huge message. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is we're not just buying a house. We're not just buying, like, we didn't come here for a pile of things. We came here for love and experiences and energetics, right? So when you were telling me about that particular situation with the mail, I don't even know how we moved into that, but I think we were jamming out on the importance of throwing things away. And, we laugh about the hoarder situation, but that's a real thing. People feel attached to their things. And that's exactly why I said this is finding its way into a chapter in my book, because I'm not just giving education and information and some tips and tricks and things you can do. Like, I want to get to the meat of the bone. Like, why are people hanging on to these things? Like, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, why do we have the things we do in our house? So it's like, is there a sentimental attachment to it? Obviously understood. But when you collect things for a period of 50, 60, 70 years, and you still have all the things and you're unwilling to throw things away, or what I call bless and release, it's like, what's going on with you and in the mind, as well as, as it relates to healing, which is where I usually like to go with conversations, because a lot of the times I'm talking with people, and as you had mentioned earlier, the emotional conversation, people call me to buy a sauna, or they call me to purchase something, or they want something, it's transactional. But within 5-10 minutes, they've laid out their entire life to me, like I know
Yes.
everything, like they're fighting with their sister, they're not like all the things. It's like, oh my God, like you have to create the environment that feels good and loving and nourishing if you want to experience that, right? You can't live in chaos. You can't live in filth. You can't live with miles high of things all around you because it feels like the walls are closing in. And that's literally what's going on inside of our minds. So our minds don't know the difference between a thought and an experience, really. And so if you're consistently experiencing and then also thinking about things, right? Like I got to clean out the garage. I got to clean out the garage. I got to clean up my closet. I got to clean. It's like on a loop. And so we're constantly going into chaos, cortisol levels up, all of these things. And then as it relates to healing or wanting to feel good or get a good night's rest, it's like you can't, like I try to explain this to people and it's like I can't hardly articulate it, but if I took a peek inside your house, I could probably tell you maybe why you feel so chaotic or why you can't sleep at night or why you can't quite understand how you can't turn the monkey mind off. It's because you're living in it. It's all around you. So the male, however, looping this back as it related to your situation, and I know your house is not a hoarder situation, so, but it was that particular thing. It was the psychology of why you were hanging on to that. Energetically, don't you feel like you just want to clear that? Wouldn't that just feel good to clear that? And so I think I said, I would love for you to message me when you get around to clearing out that mail. And for some people, that might be an emotional thing that they don't want to do. Again, going back to like that might be an unfortunate feeling, or maybe somebody has passed and you don't want to go through that room, or you're not willing to let that stuff go. It's like people can sit with it for as long as they need to. However, at some point, if you want to move forward and blessing and releasing, like it just feels good. So I don't remember exactly how many months went by before I all of a sudden got the message from you that was like, Jen, guess what? I cleaned up my mail. You cleared out all the mail. I was like, hallelujah, girl. Like, how's that make you
Yes.
feel, right? Were you just like so excited to just fire that message over to me? I can't even imagine. You were probably like, oh, like little Jen just sitting on your shoulder, just like, when is she going to clear out that drawer?
Right. Well, it's so funny. I was ecstatic to send that to you, and I knew that I needed to just plan it, like to literally like schedule in some time to sit and remind myself of what was in there,
Mhm.
because the whole thing about this process is that I have learned and become very clear about the fact that I have a purpose. And one thing that I have heard very clearly in my conversation, my prayers with God, is that He wants me to shine my light in the darkest places,
Mhm.
is the message that I've received. And because, like I was saying earlier, I am created to hold space for people. And that doesn't mean that I hold on to their baggage. There is a huge distinction, but I am a space holder for people when they need it. And so my space needs to be clear enough for me to be able to hold for others. And
Mhm.
so I knew that once I sat down and went through that and also changed my mindset around like mail, because I'm like, it's just mail. It's really not a big deal when you think about it. Like I go and I'll skip over to the mailbox now and I'm like, oh, what's here? And then it doesn't even have a place in the house anymore. It's just like, okay, we're moving, we're throwing this out. I'm standing right by the garbage and I'm like, don't need it, don't need it, but the energy just has to change. And this is mail, of course, that we're talking about, but there are a lot of different things that we could put in there in its place.
Mhm.
That just happened to be the catalyst for me to open my vessel more, to be able to receive from God and then to give to others.
I love that.
So thankful.
Yeah, it's the ease and flow, right? It's just the consistency of the ease and flow. And sometimes we're moving a little bit quicker. Like you're sitting with that gorgeous background behind you of the water just rushing. I've been on the beach with you this whole time, by the way. We've been on the beach, which will happen sometime at some point, I'm sure. But like, just like the moving water, really, I like to point things back to the elements. Like we just came off of the last 2 months, I kind of took a little hiatus from guest shows because I really wanted to hone in on the Homes That Heal series of really boiling down to the different topics and creating the space, creating a wellness space, moving things in and out. Like even just we're talking about mail, but like even the donation process. Think about that, cleaning out your closet or garage and letting go of things that no longer serve you. But imagine the receiver person, right? They're receiving something that maybe it's a match for them and you're passing it on. So it's just like this energetic flow, right? Kathy always says, tune our radio, our frequency, or tune our radio to the energetic matches. And I feel that way about everything. So it's like, do I hang on to this? Maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't. But if you're constantly always taking in and not allowing the release process, eventually, like we don't have the capacity to hold everything forever and ever, right? So I think that it's so fun when you understand this. Like again, it's so hard for me to articulate it. I know you get it. I know a lot of my listeners do, but when you feel that goodness of, ooh, I'm going to let this go, or I've got this space for something else. And now you're skipping out to the mailbox. You no longer have that fear or anxiety or frustration. Like I'm wondering like how full was this drawer? How much more space was there even available? But the drawer is such a fun analogy though, right? Like eventually it's not going to open and it's not going to close.
Oh, and it
So,
didn't. I didn't touch it the whole time I lived here. Didn't touch it.
girl, I love it. And I'm not even joking. This story is already, I told my writer about it like a few weeks ago because we were in the chapter around hanging on to things. I think, oh, clear the clutter and the chaos, right? Like the walls are closing in. And so I was telling Nick about it. And I said, my friend Chernice, and I told him this story, and he's like, you want to put this in the book? And I'm like, I do. I think it because it's so relevant and it resonates with people. And then you've got, like I said, the drawer is the thing that you can imagine. Like at some point, it's just not going to hold any more things. So congratulations for letting the mail go. Congratulations for opening up that space in your life. Is there any actionable things or any takeaways as it relates to people if they're shopping for a home or they're selling a home? What could they do to kind of elevate their home on the market as well as for buyers looking for a space? Anything you want to share on that?
Oh, yes. Yes. So when it comes to buyers, what I would say is don't force anything. I know you wouldn't think that you'd hear this necessarily from a realtor because yeah, that's a whole other story, but somewhere along the line we have gotten a bad rep. So let me clean that up a little bit by saying that it is never a rush. If you are in a situation like people often are, where their lease is ending and they have to make a decision, they feel like this is the only house, but you walk into that house and you don't feel good, that is a sign. And I always ask my clients, how do you feel walking through this house? That is so important because those feelings tell us a lot. So we have to really be in tune and listen to those. And then for my sellers, what I would say is that you want to be very cognizant of the space that you're creating. Because whether you realize it or not, whether it's intentional or not, there is a feeling that is very palpable, even sometimes before someone walks through the threshold of your house. It could be as soon as they get onto the property in their car, before they even park. People are very, very in tune with these things when they're going through the buying process or they're working with someone who's in tune with these things. And we have to be careful of the spaces that we're creating and the message that that sends, not only to a prospective buyer, but to you living there. You want a clean and clear space. And it could be something as small as cleaning out a mail drawer, or it could be something bigger. You know, it could be larger projects. It could be really emotional, heavy things that I encourage sellers to really work through because it conveys in the sale process. It truly does. If there is a seller who has an emotional hold on that house, if there's something that they haven't let go of, like all of these things play a part in the real estate transaction. And again, most likely you're not going to hear this if you jump onto a real estate course, or people aren't going to necessarily
Right.
be talking about this. But I am here to tell you that it really does play more of a role than maybe we often consider. So that is all part of the process that I go through with my sellers too, to find out when they are really truly, and if they are really truly ready to move on from that home.
Mm.
And then if they are, then we of course walk you through it
Oh
and
my
make it
gosh.
make it a beautiful, loving, inviting space.
Right. And that's it, really. That's the whole thing. And again, this is why I'm so excited that you are educating in this realm, because that is the important component, I think, in the real estate process that maybe has been missing for decades. I think we're all elevating consciously. I think everybody can feel that we're shifting inward more, in our health and well-being. I think COVID moved us all into our houses for a period of time, which got people's eyes open a little bit again on what's going on under the roof. Like, what is all this stuff? Like, why do I feel this way when I'm here? Because it was interesting that so many people who maybe worked out of the home were now in the home, and then they realized they didn't enjoy being in that space for very long. And it's like, oh, interesting. That's interesting, right? And
Yes.
so what you just touched on about the emotional baggage and the emotional energy that's tied to our homes and our things, that is felt. That's an exchange. Mark always laughs when we go into a home from the flipping process. I walk in and in 10 seconds, I know. I'm like, yep, I know we're gonna buy this house. Or nope, doesn't have the bones, it doesn't have the energetic feel for what we're trying to do. It's just not, it just doesn't have it. And I know, like I feel it, I'm attuned to it. We're all
Yes.
attuned to it. We just need to use those gifts, right? We just need to be tuned into our God-given gifts to be
Yes.
attuned to what feels good. It doesn't matter what the paint color is necessarily. I mean, I know that that's all decor and that can create a vibe, but there's an energy around our things. And so I love that you're shouting this from the rooftops. You've got courses on this. You're talking about it on your show. We're going to keep talking about this because I think, again, this is what's missing in the industry, and you're bringing it, and your bright light is like a beacon. So continue to do that. I would love for you to tell everybody where they could find you, work with you. I know you're in Georgia. You're not, if you were in Wisconsin, girl, I'd hardly ever get anything done because we would just be coffee chatting all the time. But where, where can people find you, work with you, connect with you?
Oh my goodness. I am so excited to welcome your audience in. You can find me at Chernice the Realtor on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, because I'm on TikTok now.
Oh, I was gonna say
So
that's news to me, girl. Oh no, I'm not a TikTok girl. I cannot. Maybe I should say never.
yeah, well, a client inspired it. It was like, oh, can I put my house on TikTok? And I was like, actually, yes. Yes,
You
you
know,
can. So there we have it.
I was gonna say, let me retract that because you are the perfect person to be on TikTok, actually. You are, because TikTok is all about videos, correct? It's short snippet videos. That is the
Yes.
perfect platform for you because it's like, boom, right there. There she is. Perfect.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It is so much fun. And so you can find me there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Chernice Dieudonne. So you can find me on LinkedIn and YouTube under Chernice Dieudonne. So we have a lot of videos and content and things coming your way. And if you want to be included on the invitation list for any of my upcoming seminars, you can do that. We call them power hours. So you can always DM me about the power hour and I will get you all set up. I am in Atlanta, so I do work Atlanta Metro, but I also have a referral business. So anywhere in the world that you want to buy and sell, I can vet an agent for you. One thing that people know about me is that I'm very meticulous. So I'm not going to have you just working with anybody. So if you ever want to invest or if you live somewhere else, you can still get a lot out of the seminars, and I'll make sure that I get you to the right person.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love it. Can you also tell everybody the name of your show?
The name of my show is I Am Not Naming This Podcast.
I love it. I
And yes,
remember
that
you
is the name.
Yeah, I remember when you told me at first I was like, "No, I think you need a name." And I was like, "No, I think this is perfect and totally in alignment for you and what you're doing and all the things that you're sharing with the world." So I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning and
Oh,
for
my
this
pleasure. And I love you too.
Oh, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Chernice.
No problem. It's amazing.
Okay, friends and fellow wellness warriors, thanks for tuning in today. If this show was helpful and inspired you, please head over to Apple or Spotify to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us, as well as share it with your friends and family. It's a fantastic way to grow the show, expand my reach, and teach others how to create a vibrant life they love. If you're ready to invest in your health and purchase a Clear Light sauna, hop on over to jenhellerlifestyle.com and send me a note. Thanks again for tuning in. I love you. I'm grateful for you, and I thank you so much for your support. You are the reason I do this work. You are the reason I do this show. And you are the reason I get up every single day with a burning desire in my soul. Cheers to your health and happiness, my friends. We'll see you next week. This podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you think you have a medical condition, consult your licensed physician.